Hey guys, this is going to be the first in a series of unit reviews for Blood Angels in Warhammer 40,000. And I'm starting with my HQ choices here. I've been playing Blood Angels Space Marines since late 3rd, early 4th edition. And I say playing, I started painting and collecting as 12 13 years old during I want to say the very early days of 3rd edition. I think right as 2nd edition was ending was when I first got into the Warhammer 40,000 thing as a young kid. Have some really old poorly painted Predator tanks to prove it, and they're just glopped in red paint. But Blood Angels have always been my favorite army. I can't imagine that is ever going to change. And so I like doing unit reviews and tactics discussions because I've had the great benefit of playing these guys for a really long time. Back when they had their 2nd edition codex that was like stapled. It used staples for the binding. It was like 20 pages. I played with that, played with the PDF during 4th edition and 5th edition, and they got pretty strong, and a bunch of people kind of jumped on the bandwagon to do the whole Razorback spam, and now we're kind of in 7th edition. They got their new codex over here, and they've been kind of mellowed out a little bit, but it doesn't, the codex power, their strength or OP-ness, their OP factor compared to other codices isn't it's never a deciding factor for me. You got to play them because you enjoy their fluff and you appreciate what they're all about, which is being fast. But anyway, that's enough of a rant. So this is going to be the first video in a series, and I'm going to talk about Blood Angels HQ choices and what I use for HQ. As you can see, well, maybe you can't tell, but none of these are special characters. These are all, there's only 4 of them. There's 2 captains and 2 librarians here. I am not a fan of special characters. That's me personally. I have a hard time immersing myself in the Warhammer 40k universe, I guess, fluff when I'm playing a battle and I'm using a special character. It just seems, out of place. It doesn't have the uniqueness and individuality that I think custom nameless characters can kind of bring to the table, no pun intended. So I've always been a fan of unnamed HQ choices. I do have some chaplains and things like that, but as time has gone on, I've been using captains and librarians pretty much exclusively. I have a couple more captains than this. The reason they're not here is because, number one, they're pretty poorly painted because I painted them years and years and years ago, and number two, their war gear is just kind of outdated. To give you an example, a captain that isn't being displayed here that I have is a captain was a Power Fist and a Stormbolter or a Combi Plasma or something, and he's just not that great. He's not very effective. I feel like Power Fist captains are just bad these days. It was when I was starting to learn the game, I didn't really understand the benefit of having higher initiative values, and I didn't factor in capitalizing on that initiative 5 on the captains, and that's, I guess, where we'll start the captain HQ conversation, is what war gear to use. How do you know what's good and what you should bring? Because there are a lot of war gear choices now, especially in the new 7th edition codex. First things first, before we go into weapons, I just gotta say, we've got Artificer armor now in 7th edition. That's fantastic. If you have the points left over, I wouldn't say it's a must buy, but it's definitely a very, very good idea. I am the type of player that prefers cheap and cheerful, more models over more upgrades. I strongly believe in that list building doctrine. But if you do have the extra points, Artificer Armor is fantastic. It's 20 points. 2-up armor save is great. As you can see here, I've given both of these captains Storm Shields. I think the Storm Shield is less great. I take it for more of a fun factor. The one unit in my army that I will kind of splurge a little bit on in points is my HQs, just because I think that out of all the units, they're kind of like the coolest and they kind of deserve it, right? Your HQ represents you on the battlefield, so to speak. It's, you know, kind of like you commanding your army. So I always thought, you know, if there's one kind of fun unit that you want to maybe waste a couple points on, it's always the HQ. So that's why I give them Storm Shields. Having that 3+ invulnerable is pretty sweet. It can come in handy in a duel, especially if, you know, you have to get, you know, wrapped up with Terminators or something really nasty and they're just cutting through your armor. Having that 3-up invul is great. As we know, captains don't have Eternal Warrior, so if they fail an invul against, say, a Power Fist, it's not good. They're going to die. So that kind of makes the 3-up invul all the more valuable. If they had Eternal Warrior and it wasn't a big deal, you know, losing an invulnerable save to, say, like a Demolisher Cannon or something like that, some really high strength weapon, maybe somehow they get hit by an erroneous las cannon shot. You never know what happens. It's 40k. All kinds of crazy things happen. I don't need to tell you that. But having that 3-up invul on a character without Eternal Warrior, I think, is really important, and it does make a difference over the 4-up. It is 15 points to take the Storm Shield on the captains now, but I would say it's not a bad upgrade. It's not. I wouldn't say it's as good as Artificer Armor, because I like to keep my captains kind of in the front of a group, so especially if he's rolling with other power armor guys like this guy, he's in a squad with power armor dudes, keep him in the front, and he can kind of tank shots until something really scary comes at him, and then I can do a lookout, sir, you know what I mean? So having that 2-up kind of for like the whole squad, right? He's taking these 2-up hits. It's almost as if the entire squad has a 2-up save. So that, I think, is a little more valuable than having the Storm Shield, but again, I think the Storm Shield is still, it's at least decent. Moving on, weapons. So I was saying earlier about how back when I was kind of a noob knob, I didn't really capitalize on that Initiative 5, and that Initiative 5 is a lot more important than people give it credit for. I'll use an example. Just a few days ago, 2 days ago, I played a 40k game, 1500 points. This captain here got into a duel with a chaplain, enemy warlord, and I'm not going to go to the extent and say that the reason he won was Initiative 5, but let's just say the chaplain that he was fighting against didn't even get to swing back. His Initiative 5 allowed my captain to swing first, and, you know, I've been using this sword as a relic blade, so he was cutting through his armor at strength 6, and it was pretty serious. I got Slay the Warlord for it. I took him out in 1 round in combat, and that was that. And it kind of painless character assassination. So if you're going to take weapons on your captain, well, obviously you're going to take weapons. If you're going to take, you know, non-Thunderhammer, non-Power Fist weapons, which I would strongly recommend, I would look at probably the Relic Blade first. I was counting this as Valor's Edge originally when the new codex came out. I kind of got really excited about Valor's Edge and the prospect of an AP2 power sword, and it is great, but I kind of overreacted and I didn't realize that I wasn't getting any bonuses, attack bonuses, for having a single-handed weapon with a close combat weapon, because the Storm Shield doesn't count. He doesn't have a pistol. You know, you're replacing that for his shield. So if you're running a captain that has a pistol, the Valor's Edge, I think, is definitely a good choice. But if you're doing something like this where he's got a Storm Shield, the Valor's Edge isn't, it's just not worth it because you're not getting that bonus attack. The Relic Blade here is a two-handed weapon regardless, so because it's a two-handed weapon, you're never getting that extra attack, and it becomes a lot more appealing because you are striking at strength 6 or strength 7 on the charge. And yes, it's AP 3, so you kind of need to avoid Terminators and getting into duels with characters with Artificer armor. It does limit his utility a little bit, but on the flip side of that, if you charge Power Armor Marines, you're going to cut through them at 2+, no saves. You can crack the rear armor of vehicles extremely easily at strength 7 with multiple attacks. There are definitely benefits to the Relic Blade over Valor's Edge, and I think if you're running a shield, you definitely go for the Relic Blade. This guy here is a kind of a relic from the previous Blood Angels Codex. He's never really been great. This is a Forge World Asterion Moloch model that has been pretty heavily converted. Obviously, he doesn't have the spear. He has Lightning Claw, a Lightning Claw, and a Storm Shield. This was originally a Forge World Minotaurs character, and I've replaced all the Minotaurs iconography with Blood Angels or generic iconography like skulls and stuff, so that he is a official Blood Angel guy. Can't have any Minotaurs stuff on him. And the Lightning Claw and the Storm Shield in Terminator armor is it's not that good. This guy, I'm not gonna lie, this is not the best use of points. Certainly not I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't even consider him a decent HQ choice. I'd just say he's subpar, but that's okay. He's fun to use. He's probably my best painted model at this point in time. So obviously I want to use him when I can, just because stop, he's getting caught on his cape. So I want to use him when I can, just because I did put a lot of effort into painting this guy. I think he came out really well. It's my first attempt at non-metallic metal painting, and I just like the model. I think he's cool pose, but he's not too good. Lightning Claw, Storm Shield, and Terminator armor. He's good at tanking hits. But when you can get Artificer armor now in the new Blood Angels Codex, or I should say newer, because it's not really too new anymore. It came out 5 or 6 months ago now. But now that you can take Artificer armor, the Terminator armor isn't, it's not so great. But he is kind of a tank. He does kind of tear through regular guys. The problem is he's not good in a challenge. He's not even as good as this other captain. He costs about, I don't know off the top of my head, both of these guys are somewhere in the neighborhood of 140 points with the new codex. So they're roughly the same cost, and I gotta say that the guy in the power armor on the right here is he's just better. The Relic Blade, Storm Shield, Artificer armor is just better than the Terminator armor, Lightning Claw, Storm Shield. And having the power armor is, you can't teleport, but you can also do sweeping advance and stuff like that. So there's benefits to having the non-Terminator armor as well. So that's it for Blood Angels captains. I like them. I'm always going to use them. Let me know what you think of their war gear. In the next segment, I will talk about my librarians back here and kind of my current thoughts on 7th edition librarians and how they fit into Blood Angels armies. And that's that. Thanks for watching.